Thank you so much, Jade, for the introduction. I'm really honored to be here today as your speaker at Community Now's really incredible series on mental health. This is such an important topic right now, and for so many reasons. As I've been watching the rest of the talks this week, it's been a really powerful reminder of how sharing our unique stories and how even during this time of isolation that we're all experiencing, we can stay united. Mental health is an overwhelming challenge, especially right now. The COVID-19 crisis has been pretty frightening and pretty uncertain time, and one that is really shaken the foundations of our entire world as well as our individual lives. It's a collective trauma that we're all going through together. The impact on our hearts and our minds has already been so devastating. According to a recent study by the University of British Columbia, as well as the Canadian Mental Health Association, a majority of Canadians that have been surveyed said that the status of their mental health has rather significantly deteriorated since this pandemic began. And even for people who had previously suffered from mental health challenges, the number rose to 61%. And it's unsurprisingly that even other studies like the Moreau-Shepherd Mental Health Index, it showed that out of all Canadians, Albertans specifically, suffering through this pandemic are at a higher rate because of our pre-existing economic crisis. We've experienced some of the greatest stress levels. And this stress can become all-consuming. We worry about the health of our families and ourselves. We fear the worst when it comes to our jobs and our economy, and this is amplified by the fact that we don't know when this is going to end or what our world's going to look like after the pandemic has actually passed. I've felt this feeling before, and I am sure many of you have as well. Those dark times in our life when there just isn't enough certainty to grasp onto. It's like when life feels like it could change at any moment, and imagining the future, it seems like an impossibility. What could it look like? This leads to what psychologists call a foreshortened future. It's a common symptom of trauma, like the one that we're all experiencing. It just simply becomes impossible to feel like a new and different world could exist. And we live day to day with little access to the optimism and the faith that could help us to endure. But it's not true, because there is always a way forward. But in the grip of anxiety and depression and fear, that path looks dark, it looks murky. But this is what we need right now, is to be able to imagine a better future and work together to build it. So I have a story that I would like to share with you all. And it's not one that I ordinarily talk about much, but I think that through openness about our own experiences, we can help support each other during this time. So here goes. My greatest hope is that sharing this story in some small way could help some of you out there today. Because sometimes one person's journey could be another person's survival guide. So in my life, I've survived bullying, partner abuse, severe health issues, and crippling mental health problems. Tragically, none of these things are uncommon in our society. And one thing that I've experienced that fewer people may be able to resonate with, though, is that I was raised inside a cult. I know it sounds pretty strange, doesn't it? But the other day I was thinking about some of the uncanny similarities between the way that I was brought up and the traumas that it caused, as well as what we're going through collectively as a society during the pandemic. So to give some background, my parents, in a time of vulnerability and their own mental health and health issues, were lured into this cult with the promise that it was a way of healing and a way towards a better life. It was kind of a new age style belief system with a rather charismatic founder who exerted complete control over his followers and abused many of them, very specifically women and children. I attribute my childhood exposure to this very toxic situation to much of the trauma and challenges I experienced later in life. And back to my original point, there are a few things about the pandemic that really resonate with that part of my life. First of all, there was an overwhelming sense of doom. We were taught that the world was a rather hostile place for us and that our only safety was really within this cult. And if we did or didn't do certain things, we were told by our leader that bad things could happen to us and it would basically be our fault. There was a lot of fear about the future, and just like now, it was incredibly hard to live with. The next thing that really resonates was the isolation. We were told that we shouldn't associate with people outside of our cult. We couldn't see friends, we couldn't see family, and that was because they wouldn't understand us. So I wasn't really able to have many normal friendships growing up. And this chronic loneliness and sense of disconnection was really devastating for me as a child, and was one of the things that provoked a lot of my anxiety and depressive disorders at an incredibly young age. So it might sound a little strange to try and draw parallels between a cult that I grew up in and the COVID-19 pandemic. There is an abundance of fear and isolation as well as division all around us. Similarly to the ways these experiences caused me to develop severe anxiety and depression, we're seeing a really dramatic rise in these very same conditions. It took many years of healing for me to overcome a lot of my own issues. And while they'll always be there, I want to emphasize as a survivor that it really is possible. The key for me, whether it was with friends, family, therapists, reaching out to others for help that I needed, and gaining the comfort that I didn't have to shoulder this burden alone. We are very social animals, and connection during these times of turmoil can be the most profound source of healing for us. That allowed me, after many, many, many years, to once again be able to imagine what a better future could look like, and finally be able to move forward in my own life. I found myself more confident and hopeful, and even in difficult times with my company or my relationships. And I believe that this kind of love and support is exactly what we need to do for ourselves and each other right now. This is a really pivotal time in history, one where things are changing so quickly, and each and every one of us has something valuable to contribute to what Canada looks like after this pandemic. As difficult as things feel right now, it wouldn't be this way. It wouldn't, always be this way. And together we can move forward towards that better world. As the inspiring Tony Robbins once said, the only impossible journey is the one you never begin. Especially during this Christmas season, I want to encourage everyone to reach out to the people in your lives who might be struggling. And if that person is you, know that you're not alone. And please seek the support you deserve through resources like on the Canadian Mental Health Association website, and with friends and with family. And I know we will get through this time. Alberta, Canada, and the world, we will recover, we will thrive, and we're getting much closer to turning a corner. Fear, isolation, division can't hold us back if we stay united and give each other the support that will let our optimism and hope return. I really want to thank you all so much for listening to my story today, and let's encourage each other to have faith in a much brighter 2021.